Hello, lovely people. If you don't know me, my name's Emily, and I have been running my millinery label Derby and Power for about 4 years now. And today I'm going to show you guys how to make one of the designs in my range. So this is the piece that we're going to be making today. It is an embellished gold and pearl crown. It's really quite simple. It just takes a little bit of patience. I do actually have some DIY kits available if you'd like to buy the materials that you need to make this piece. And I'm going to be doing up the pearl piece today, but I also have a really nice emerald and a purple color as well. So you might be interested in that. I'll pop the description. I'll pop the link to that in the description. What else do I need to tell you? I think that's it. Let's just get started, shall we? Okay, so I'll just start by showing you quickly everything that we're going to use. So you'll need 15 of your little embellishments that we're going to stitch on, and then a thin metal headband, a strip of wadding, and 2 strips of gold fabric. Now just pause that there for a second. All of those materials I've just mentioned are available to purchase in a bundle, and I've got the link to that in my description if you want to save a little bit of money and time running around. I've got that ready for you. You'll also need a marker, some scissors, your needle and thread. I've matched line to my fabric, a measuring tape, and then some craft glue and just an old paintbrush. So the first step is to wrap our headband. So I'm going to take the wadding, and you can see that I've cut one end on an angle. I'm just going to apply a little bit of my craft glue to the headband, and then I'm going to stick that angled end of the wadding onto the metal headband. So just pressing down a bit until I'm happy that it's stuck, and then I'm going to add a little bit more craft glue over the length of the headband. Just adding it on quickly. I'm not being too precious about this, just giving the wadding something to stick to. So now all we're going to do is just wrap the headband. So you want to do this nice and tight, and you might be able to see I'm sort of using one hand to hold it in place and the other hand to pull it around nice and tight. And we're doing this so that, well, it's going to make it a bit comfier to wear, and it's also going to give us something to stitch our embellishments into a little bit down the track. So as I get to the end, I'm just going to grab my glue again, excuse me, and add that to the end of the headband there, and just secure that end down. Just adding more glue as I think is necessary. Just giving that a good pinch to get it to stick in place. And now that I've just given that a little bit of time to dry off, I'm going to leave a little bit on the end until I'm happy that it's properly dried, and then I'll trim that off nicely. So next up you'll need one strip of your gold fabric. So similar to what we did with the wadding, I am just going to add some craft glue to the end of my headband to now stick the gold fabric on, and then we're just going to be wrapping that around the headband. So basically what we're going to want to do here is to start covering up that white wadding and turn it back into a gold headband again. I'm just going to trim that excess wadding off now that I'm happy that that's dry. Now the length of my gold fabric is probably about 3 times the length of my headband, which means I'm going to have enough to go across one side and to then come back again. So if I don't cover up all the white in this first go, I'm not too concerned about it. Also, at the final step in creating this headpiece is to go back over again with our second strip of gold fabric once the embellishments are stitched on. So that will give us another chance to cover up any little bits that are still persisting on showing through. So don't worry too much about it at this stage. So similar to the wadding, I'm sort of using one hand to hold it in place where I want it and the other hand to wrap it around tightly. I'll just mention as well, if you guys would like to request any designs, because I do have a whole bunch, probably the best place to have a look at what I do is my website, which is darbyempower.com, or my Instagram at darbyempower. So you can have a look at all the photos there, and then just comment on Instagram or shoot me an email or comment on this video and let me know which designs you're interested in. I'm happy to film some tutorials that you guys request. So I've wrapped my gold around once now. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the end here to keep it in place at the end before I go back around again, back to the other side with the rest of my gold fabric. This process, by the way, I find a little bit easier. Normally I do it standing up so that the fabric kind of has somewhere to hang and it's not collecting on the table beneath me, because it sort of all gathers together and it can get a little bit tricky when you're sitting at a table. But for the purpose of this, obviously I'm filming it so you guys can see it, but when you're doing it, I would recommend going for a little stroll around your room. It just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so I've wrapped around again, gotten back to the side that I started on. I'm just going to add some craft glue and stick down the end of the fabric. And just trimming off that excess. Okay, so now you're going to want to measure out to find the midpoint of your headband so that you know where you want to stitch on that middle embellishment to keep it all centered and symmetrical. So this headband is 14.5 inches, so I'm just going to measure to 7.25. And I'm just going to lightly mark it with my Sharpie. I'm going to end up stitching my embellishment on top of my mark, so you won't see it, but better to be safe than sorry, just keep it nice and small. So we're getting into the good part now. So you're going to want to set up your needle and thread. I like to use a double thread just to keep everything nice and secure and to make it a bit stronger. So I'm just here pulling out my middle embellishment and then the other 7 that I'm going to use to go down the left hand side of the headpiece. I find if I don't pull them all out in advance, I'll just kind of mindlessly start sewing and I'll use too many or something. So again, better to be safe than sorry. So I'm just holding this where I want to attach it. You can see that I'm sort of angling it towards me a little bit, because I don't want it to be sitting directly on top of the headband. You always need to think about how it's going to look once it's being worn. So if you are new to this, I definitely recommend having a mirror handy and trying your piece on quite regularly as you go. And I'm just showing you there, you can see there are 2 eyelets on either side. So that's what I am stitching into now to hold it in place. So I'm just going to do probably 3 to maybe 4 to 5 stitches through each eyelet, and with my double thread that's going to hold it really nicely. So you can see I'm always just double checking and making sure that I've got my angle right before I start stitching. You definitely don't have to be the best sewer to do this, because I certainly am not. I have said this a lot, but it just does take a little bit of patience, really. That's all you need. So I've got my first one on now. Now I'm going to attach them on kind of lining up next to one another, but obviously the way that you guys want to compose your piece is totally up to you. If you want to space them out a little bit more, just have a think about keeping your piece symmetrical if that's what you're going to do. Because I'm lining them up one next to the other, obviously that makes it easy to keep it symmetrical, because I don't have to make sure I'm spacing the same in between each embellishment. And you'll notice I'm just running with the same thread. I haven't tied it off after my first embellishment, so I just use the same thread for as long as I can. I'll probably need to tie a new one on after this piece and start again. So yeah, running low on thread, so I'm just going to tie this one off and re-thread my needle before moving on to my third embellishment piece. Alright, so it's the left hand side done, and I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. So now we just need to repeat the process down the right hand side. So there we are almost done, just one final step left. So as you can see here, there are you can see some threads and things at the back, and it's just a little bit messier than I would like. So we're going to wrap that last piece of thread around the headband. Now, as you can see here, this is a different piece my camera cut out on the pearl one. So this is the emerald stones that I mentioned at the start of the video, that you can also purchase the emerald or the purple if you'd like to recreate this piece. So I'll show you the last step on this piece. So I've just got my craft glue again, and I'm just adding a bit just underneath the where the embellishments start, because the point of this this step is to cover up those loose threads at the back that I showed you before, and also to just wrap over those eyelets that I stitched into so that you can't see them. So it's more just like the embellishment is kind of floating there on the headpiece. So again, you can see I'm using one hand to hold the fabric in the direction that I want it to go in and position that I want it to stay in, and then I'm using the other hand to wrap it around nice and tightly. And just focusing on wrapping over those eyelets and wrapping across the back over any loose threads. And again, here's your patience being put to the test. I usually have something on Netflix or I'm listening to a podcast or something while I do this kind of work. So getting to the end here, you can see I've just got a little bit of fabric left over, which again, I'm just going to glue that down. I'm just going to trim off the excess. I find if I do that while the glue's still a bit wet, then I can kind of smudge it all in and you don't even see the join at all. So there we go. That is the finished piece, looking much neater at the back there now, which is what we were after. Oh, and here's one I prepared earlier. There's the pearl piece that we started with. All done. Okay, so here we have the finished piece. I hope you guys really enjoyed that tutorial. I'll show you as well. Here is that emerald green piece that you saw me finish, which I really love that colour too. So yeah, you can buy both of those DIY kits by the link in the description. I'd love it if you would hit subscribe. I'm just getting started on YouTube and I'm really excited to keep sharing these videos with you guys. I am taking requests via my Instagram page at Darby and Power for any other tutorials that you would like to see. So definitely feel free to have a browse and get in touch any way you like. Instagram DM, comment below on this video, shoot me an email, whatever. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon.